Hey guys, this is Etan Sun from SunBros. Today I'm really excited to be bringing you guys this brand new video. But before we get started with that, I want to make sure I remind you guys on how to get entered in for a chance to win our guaranteed skin giveaways that we do every Sunday night during our 1-hour question and answer live stream. All you gotta do is make sure you're subscribed to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and comment below with your in-game name and which skin you'd like to receive on either the NA or EU servers under 700 vouchers. And remember, the more videos that you do this with that are uploaded each week, the higher chance you have to win. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump into this Maloch how to build video. As always, we're going to be starting in the hero page so we can take a look about to figure out what makes Maloch who he is, what makes him tick, what his strengths and weaknesses are, so we can figure out how best to build him. Alright, Maloch's passive is Plunder. Maloch has a longer attack range than normal melee units. That's actually a very important part of his kit that we have to consider when we're building him, and I'll probably go over that in a little bit more detail when we're talking about the build. When his weapon is enchanted, his normal attacks deal true damage instead of physical damage and restore 2% of his lost HP. Really strong passive. His first ability is Cleave. Maloch swings his blade and deals physical damage. If he hits a hero, his weapon becomes enchanted. When his weapon is enchanted, Cleave will add true damage and recover 6% of his own lost HP for every hero hit, up to 24%, which is obviously 4 times. You can't get a fifth pull of that HP. His second ability is Soul Eater. The first ability, real quick, has a 5-second cooldown, and that's static throughout all 6 levels. His second ability is Soul Eater. Maloch snatches the souls of surrounding enemies, dealing a small amount of physical damage and reducing their movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. He gains a shield for snatching souls, absorbing damage taken with a maximum of 4 souls. Just like it's a maximum of 4 with Cleave, it's a maximum of 4 with Soul Eater. So the cooldown starts at 12, it goes down to 7 seconds at level 6, and the shield point starts at 680 level 1 and goes to 1780, and it scales with AD. Maloch's ultimate is Shock. Maloch unleashes a massacre from above at the specified location. He knocks nearby enemies when he lands and deals physical damage. Also, he reduces the movement speed of any enemy that tries to enter or exit the zone. Now the cooldown starts at 60, it goes down to 40 at level 3. So this is a pretty important thing to note also. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the equipment page and we're going to take a look at how we're going to build Maloch. Now, there's a lot of different ways to build Maloch, and he's actually one of the harder guys I've had to build for. He can be built in just pretty much any way that you can imagine. Now, I want to lay some ground rules. I want to kind of discuss a few of the things that a few of the challenges that Maloch brings to the table as far as figuring out how to build him. So number 1, the attack range, the longer melee attack range that Maloch has is a bit of an issue in the sense that it doesn't remove some of the items, but it makes them a little bit less valuable. For example, Leviathan is one of those items that does pose a problem for Maloch when he is at an extended melee range further than other melee heroes. Now Leviathan does give you good armor and max HP, of course, that can starts at 800 and can max at 1850. But one of the best parts about Leviathan is the unique passive magic, flame magic, which deals damage to nearby enemies. Now, Maloch isn't necessarily out of range when he's in melee range, but he is really on the fringe of that range, and it does cause a problem where he isn't going to proc Leviathan as frequently as somebody like, say, Arthur, who is really going to be up in your face at all times. Additionally, his other abilities can be done at a pretty good distance. Leviathan is just simply not somebody who needs to be up in your face near you in order to be doing what he does best. The other item that's going to cause a problem with is Mantle of Ra. Sure, Mantle of Ra has attack damage and armor, which are very good for Maloch, but again, the best part of Mantle of Ra is, of course, the passive burn, which is going to be the same thing. It's going to deal magic damage to nearby enemies, and it's going to be a problem for Maloch, who is okay staying at a much further distance than your average melee player. So I do want to note one thing before we continue, and that's that Maloch's passive, Plunder, where he does true damage on his normal attacks when his weapon is enchanted, does indeed increase with AD, even though it doesn't say it in here. So attack damage is a really important thing for him because it does allow him to do more damage. So the first thing that we're going to build, and Maloch is somebody that I enjoy taking into the jungle very much. I think he has a very solid jungle clear. He has really great gank ability, especially after level 4 when he gets his ultimate. And even though his mobility isn't world class, he's still able to make his way around the map in a good enough fashion, and his ganks are impactful enough to be big time difference makers for the people in that lane to help them secure their objectives. So the first item I'm going to take, now I'm going to take this item whether it's going to be, whether I'm jungling with Maloch or whether I'm playing him in top lane. Either way, I'm going to take the jungle item Soul Reaver, and I'll tell you why. This is really the perfect item for Maloch now that it's been changed in the most recent patch. Not only do you get a starting baseline 90 attack damage, which is of course going to scale into his true damage for not only his passive Plunder, but also his first ability Cleave. You're also going to get 15% cooldown reduction, which of course across the board is solid for Maloch. Both of those stats are perfect. And the other thing that we get from this one, of course, is we get additional, when we get our stacks, we get 3 additional attack damage, equaling up to 45, which gives this item a total of 135 attack damage, good enough for second in the game. Next, we're going to be going to the boot section. One of Maloch's most recognizable weaknesses is getting kited around by long-range units such as marksmen. So we're going to go ahead and take Gilded Greaves and cut down on that possibility with the first of all, we get 110 magic damage, obviously, but the reason we're taking Gilded Greaves over all the other boots is because of the unique passive Resistance. Resistance gives us 35% less crowd control effects, whether we're getting slowed, stunned, knocked up, knocked back, frozen, petrified, anything that could happen to you on the battlefield that would stop you from being able to move or operate at your normal pace. Any kind of crowd control ability will now last 35% less. So if you were to be, for example, stun for 1 second, that stun will now last 0.65 seconds. Alright, now moving on to our next item, we're going to be staying in the damage section. So I'm going to give you guys a total of 3 builds. I'm going to give you guys a attack heavy build because I had a lot of people request a build for Maloch that really took advantage of his true damage and was more attack centric. That's what we're going to do with this build. I'm going to give you a secondary build, which is going to be a warrior build, which is going to be really a half damage tank build, an off tank build, if you will. And then I'm going to give you a almost full-blown tank build on Maloch that I would definitely be comfortable taking as a full tank, whether you're support or top lane doing that, rather than an off tank. So we're going to give you guys 3 builds, but this is going to be the attack damage build that can be used top lane or in jungle. In the next item, we're going to be going right back to the attack section. And one of the other things about Maloch that's interesting is that because if you're playing Maloch correctly, you're going to be dealing true damage the majority of the time that you're fighting. You really shouldn't be fighting very much if you're not doing true damage. That negates the necessity for items like Spear Longinus, which decreases armor, Miramasa, which has armor pierce, and of course Rank Breaker, which also has armor pierce. So those items become significantly less effective on Maloch as they would other heroes who do physical damage. Since Maloch does true damage the majority of the time that he's going to be involved in a fight, those items don't actually affect true damage and they don't help him at all. So we actually are going to steer clear of those items. And the next item we're going to be going after is Clave Sanctity. And I know that some of you may be shocked by this, but I'll explain why really quickly. His passive, we're going to go back to his passive again, Plunder. When his weapon is enchanted, which is a very frequent thing for Maloch when he is in, when he's fighting. Maloch should be fighting, he's going to be having his weapon enchanted for the majority of the time that he's in a fight. His auto attacks or his normal attacks, basic attacks, whatever you want to call them, will deal true damage. And I can confirm to you guys that after playing a good amount of Maloch and testing him out, that physical, that normal attack, that basic attack can indeed crit. So critting true damage is a pretty incredible thing. Maloch can crit pretty hard and heavy with true damage. And so that's the reason that our third item is going to be Clave Sanctity. Clave Sanctity gives us 100 attack damage, which again is really solid for Maloch because it gives us the ability to hit more true damage on all these abilities. Then we're going to get Gift of the Swift, which is cool. After critical hit, the movement speed is increased, which is really good for Maloch. It's 3 per level, So at level 10, you get 30 extra movement speed, which isn't groundbreaking, but it is something. Maloch tends to have some movement speed, like we talk about. One of the weaknesses that Maloch has that's most notable is his ability to get kited by other heroes. Movement speed, of course, always helps. If you crit somebody, you're going to be much more apt to be catching up to them. And then, of course, the unique passive critical chance, 30% crit. So this is, 30% is a really solid amount. It's the highest of any item in the game. And this is where we're going to start off. Next, we're going to be staying in the attack section and getting the twin, the not identical twin, but the twin item that should always accompany Clave Sanctity in almost every single situation. And that, of course, is Slick Sting. Slick Sting gives us some attack speed, which is okay, not necessary. Some critical chance, 20%, which puts us at 50% crit chance with just items, not including Arcana. We get some extra movement speed, which we've talked about is always a very useful thing on Maloch. And of course, we're getting the passive Hurricane, which increases our critical damage by 50%, which is solid because it is going to make Maloch's crits of true damage hit even harder. Okay, now we're going to take a little turn. Now, Maloch is always, when he is involved, he should always be, up in the middle of as much chaos and as much stuff going on as humanly possible. Therefore, it would be ridiculous. Now, one of the reasons why I like the damage build with Maloch, and I think that it's actually pretty solid and underrated, is because, let's go back to his toolkit again. Maloch gains an absolutely monstrous, massive, phenomenal shield when he does Soul Eater. Soul Eater will last 3 seconds. The shield at the end of this build can be almost 4,000 damage that it can take. So yeah, a 4,000 damage shield is legit. He has some incredible natural tankiness and of course some incredible natural sustainability. His passive on Plunder will, when his weapon is enchanted, like I said, it should be most of the time that you are playing as him, you are able to get 2% of his lost HP back. So he's constantly restoring health on every physical attack or normal attack that he's doing. And then his first ability, Cleave, when his weapon is enchanted and he cleaves, he gets 6% of his lost HP for every hero hit, up to 24%. So literally, let's say you're in a big, massive team fight and you hit 4 people with your cleave, you get 24%, and then you do 1 auto attack and you hit all 4 of those guys, or just 3 of them with an auto attack. You've now gained 30% of your missing health in the blink of an eye, and all the while, you have this massive shield from Soul Eater, so you're not even taking any damage. So really, Maloch is a very naturally tanky hero, and if we can play to the strengths of his true damage, which scales with AD and can crit, we can get some disgusting, nasty damage with his giant crit normal attacks with Maloch, which is really solid. So we're going to go back to the equipment page, but the reason why I say this, even though he's naturally tanky, at this point in the game, Maloch seemed to start to get very squishy, and I'm not okay with that, so we want to give him an item that's going to make him really tanky. Now, one of the items that I consider that made some sense for Maloch was Frost Cape, and of course Frost Cape makes a lot of sense. Cooldown reduction, armor, max HP, making him more tanky, plus of course you have the awesome passive elemental power, which it reduces the movement speed of the people you hit after. So you do an auto attack or a normal attack after an ability, and then you're going to reduce their movement speed and you're going to deal a pretty good amount of damage. It only has a 3-second cooldown, which really isn't a lot of time, but I can tell you from experience of having tried this that I just simply didn't notice Frost Cape being a big difference maker in my games with Maloch. So I decided to stray away from Frost Cape and go to an item that I think helps him even more, and that's the Aegis. I'll tell you why the Aegis is awesome. 20% cooldown reduction, of course, is solid. That puts us at a very good 35% CDR, which is exactly where we want to be. The max mana is completely worthless. Just ignore that. We're going to get 360 armor, which is a ton of armor, and the passive is so good on Maloch. Maloch is such a disruptor. He's such a distraction, and he's always just there. He's massive, and everyone always pays attention to Maloch when he jumps into a team fight. So the Aegis passive is perfect. Spirit Bond. When taking damage, it reduces the attacker's attack speed by 30% and movement speed by 15%. So this kind of is a truthful item. When you're in a team fight and everyone is all of a sudden, holy crap, Maloch just ulted in. We all need to focus on Maloch because he's giant in our face and scary, and he's cleaving us and true damaging us, and he's going crazy. all those people are going to have their attack speed reduced by 30% and their movement speed slowed, which is really good for a team. But again, we talked about one of the main issues that Maloch has, and that's getting kited. Now, getting kited is essentially somebody shooting you with abilities or auto attacks. Normally it's going to be like a marksman normal attacking you and backing up and shooting and backing up and shooting at the same time in order to keep their distance from you, and you have trouble catching up to really put the squeeze on them. Well, now their attack speed is slowed by 30%, which is a substantial amount, and their movement speed is slowed by enough for you to be able to cast Soul Eater, which reduces their movement speed even more by 30%. So now you're talking about a 45% movement speed reduction, or even, of course, because you will have the you'll have Punish, which will turn into Frostbite. You'll be able to cast Frostbite, which will slow them again. So this helps Maloch really not be kited too much, and I think it's actually a very, very strong item on his overall tankiness. The strongest that I could find, plus we get the cooldown reduction that we want, so we can get his ultimate back in action more often, as well as Cleave, which is our bread and butter item that's going to heal us, as well as trigger our true damage. Alright, and last but certainly not least, this is another item just like Soul Reaver that's really just perfect for Maloch. We don't want to go through all the silliness, so we don't need the armor pierce, we don't need attack speed. That's not really what Maloch's all about. We don't need the armor pierce. Lifesteal doesn't work on Maloch because he does true damage, and the lifesteal only works on physical damage. Omni Arms is okay, but I was really not happy with what it gave me. Slick Sting, we already have it. Blitz Blade, don't really need the attack speed. Devil's Handshake doesn't make any sense. And Rank Breaker, of course, the 110 attack damage is fine, but we don't need the armor pierce. So what we ended up going with, of course, is Fenrir's Tooth. Fenrir's Tooth is a massive 200 attack damage, which just adds a wild amount of true damage to your attacks, whether it be cleave true damage or it be from your normal attacks. And of course, the passive increases all damage dealt by 30% when target's HP is below 50%. And one of the reasons why that's really great on Maloch is because Maloch can get you to 50% or below by ulting in and doing cleave one time, and then he's triggered his true damage to go off, and you're sitting there, poor guy, below 50% in the blink of an eye. Now you're getting true damage for 30% extra damage, and when it crits, of course, you're getting the 50% extra damage from Slick Sting. So this is the damage Maloch build. It has one tank item in it to really get him over the top, but I promise you won't be disappointed with the damage, and I certainly don't think you're going to be disappointed with the tankiness as long as you are aware that you're playing a guy who is building almost all damage. He is one of the strongest, hardest to kill all damage heroes in the game. Okay, so this is build number 1, high damage. Build number 2 is going to be if you don't want to be as damaging and you want to be a lot more tanky, which depending on your playstyle, maybe you can go to build number 2, which is the same thought, but instead of doing the Clave Sanctity Slick Sting combo, we're actually going to the Crimson Banner and Gaia Standard combo. Now, the reason why that's such a great combination is because when Maloch can shield himself and heal himself with his true damage, which when he's doing his enchanted attacks that heals for 2% lost HP each normal attack and 6% for each time he cleaves somebody with true damage, and he can get up to 24% in one single cleave, it stacks really well with a passive on Crimson Banner and Gaia Standard. Crimson Banner's passive, Bloody Battle, or unique passive, Bloody Battle, restores 20% HP over 5 seconds after earning a kill or assist. So obviously, this is going to give him a solid amount of health, 1500. So this is he's just regenerating health by getting kills and assists in battle on top of what he's already regenerating. And of course, Gaia Standard is going to do the same thing. This is going to restore 8% of your health over 2 seconds. So you're going to be able to get 28% of your health back, over a short period of time, while also gaining health back naturally through his regular kit, while also having a shield. So this one is going to give him, this is a really off-tank build. He's going to be wildly tanky, but still be able to put out a decent amount of damage. And because we took the 2 main attack damage items, Maloch can still output a solid amount of damage with this build via true damage. Now, I want to add Crimson Banner is also 200 armor, 1500 max HP, and of course Gaia Standard is movement speed, 180 magic defense, and 1100 max HP. So it's 2600 HP altogether, and a little bit of armor and a little bit of magic defense. So it's really a great item on him. Now we're going to take you to the all tank build, which isn't quite all tanky. Now we're going to go with the same combination of, this is a support build or a top lane tank build. Crimson Banner number 1, same reasons we just talked about. Gaia Standard, same combination, gives him a ton of sustain in battle. Dude seems unkillable. Now we're going the Aegis for the exact same reasons we discussed before, and Fenrir's Tooth because it is that good of an item on him, and of course Amulet of Longevity for even more health. And now this is a cool thing because Amulet of Longevity increases healing taken by 20%, which will work on his passive, will work on his cleave, and of course will work on the passives on Crimson Banner and Gaia Standard. So this is one where it's just insane. He just keeps regenerating health all fight long. Now, the only issue with this build that you know, may give you some pause or may cause you to want to rethink things a little bit is that it is a very expensive build. The items are not cheap, and the main two culprits of this is Fenrir's Tooth at $29.50, and of course Amulet of Longevity, which is $26.80. Those are the two most expensive items in their particular fields of defense and attack. So it isn't a cheap build, but fully built, it is a build that is very much worthwhile. I don't normally suggest getting two of those items in Fenrir's Tooth and Amulet of Longevity, but I'm going to make an exception for Maloch because this makes too much sense on him and it is too strong on him. So when you get to endgame and you're full build with this build, Maloch is an absolute disgusting monster. Alright guys, that is our 3 Maloch builds. Next, we're going to be showing you guys the Arcana that I suggest on Maloch. And I'm going to show you guys the Arcana I would do on all 3 builds. First build, no question about it, we're going to be doing Rampage, which is critical chance and critical damage. So Slick Sting is going to add critical damage and critical chance, as well as critical chance from Clave Sanctity. This is going to add even more. So 7% critical chance. We're going to get 36% critical damage. So awesome red item. As far as the second build we're going to be doing, I am going to do a different item. We're probably just going to go Obliterate, which is just straight attack damage. I don't see a reason to go in a different direction. Onslaught's not any worthwhile. Bloodslit doesn't make sense because we don't do lifesteal. Rampage could be used if you don't have any other reds. Like if you don't have Obliterate, feel free to use Rampage. Obliterate is going to give you 32 attack damage, which is going to add to the true damage of your passive and of course your first ability, Cleave. Indomitable is really not what we're looking for, so I definitely say those are the two. And for the last one, I'm actually going to do Obliterate for the build, the tank build also. We're already going to be wildly tanky. Giving him any extra damage we can to output some more damage in battles is going to be good, so I'm going to do Obliterate on that one as well. Alright, next we're going to our purples, and the purples are going to remain constant through all 3 of these builds, and we're going to go with Assassinate. Assassinate gives us attack damage at 16 with 10 of them, and 1% movement speed, which is just perfect for what Maloch needs. More damage and faster movement speed so he can better keep up with those faster, more mobile heroes. And for green, we're going to be doing the exact same thing on all 3 of these builds, and that is going to be Valiance. Valiance gives us 6% cooldown reduction and 375 max HP. And I'll tell you why we're going to be taking Valiance, because cooldown reduction on almost all these builds, or maybe all of them. Let's take a look real quick. On the builds we have on Maloch, build number 1 has 15% plus 20%. So that's 35% cooldown reduction. This is going to put us at 41%. If you really want to take, you know, 8 Valiants and 2 others, you can. Now, so this is going to put us at 40. With build number 2, we're going to be at 35% again, so it's going to put us at 40. And with build number 3, we're only going to be able to get to 26%. Now, with build number 3, that is the build where I would give you the green light to switch from Valiance on the greens to straight focus, which is going to be just 10% cooldown reduction. That'll give you 30% on your tank build and still allow you to get in that cooldown reduction that you so desperately need. Alright guys, and as far as the talents go for Maloch, you're going to need to take Punish on the first 2 builds. And on the third build, you could really take a number of different things. You could take Disrupt because he has a really good tower diving ability with his ultimate. So you could literally jump on a tower with his ultimate. You could Disrupt, get shield up. I mean, you could really be under there for a while. You could take Flicker, so you can Flicker, Cleave, Soul Eat. I mean, that is not a bad option either. Or if you really have a problem with getting kited around, then I would consider taking Purify. But that is the talents that we're talking about. Now let's recap real quick the actual equipment builds that we're talking about. Build number 1, attack damage build. We're going Soul Eater, Gilded Greaves, not Soul Eaters, Soul Reaver, Gilded Greaves, Clay Sanctity, Slick Sting, the Aegis, and of course Fenrir's Tooth. Build number 2, which is our off-tank build, is going to be Soul Reaver, Gilded Greaves, the Aegis, Crimson Banner, Gaia Standard, and Fenrir's Tooth. And last but not least, our heavy tank build is going to be Crimson Banner, Gilded Greaves, Gaia Standard, the Aegis, Fenrir's Tooth, and of course Amulet of Longevity. Alright guys, that is it for this how to build video on the brand new Monster Demon Maloch. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I worked very hard in this video. It was probably the hardest how to build video I've had to make yet, as Maloch is a very challenging hero to build for because he's very unique in what his abilities do. I hope you guys enjoyed it, guys. If you guys haven't yet, check out the Hero Quick Look video and be prepared for our next set of Hero Quick Looks and how to build on the next hero coming out. And of course, check out our Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday night live streams. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and as always, until next time.